but all the numbers in your numerical pad, not your ones on top, but in your keypad, the page numbers. Because one over here and one over here is not a problem.
Now what if you have to say 10?
You can't.
So if it's like, what time is it, and you need to tell them 10, that's
1-0.
1-0.
I'll just do this.
It's just a bit of an odd question. I'm trying to do my job today and get you through the pre-screening. You want us to look for
1-0 is the top right now.
Somebody said that I was thinking, like that somebody that's like, it's not an odd question, I'm asking a question. No, I try to keep them on. Well, that's the thing, you want to keep them on point. If it's not relevant to the job or why they're calling, it is an odd question. I just think of all that. This is amazing, this technology.
So the number pad and your home row of numbers, is that why you guys don't do like graduations, like years for that and that kind of information?
Not necessarily. Well, our script never really had that. And it's more of, not so much that. I'm sure that if that were something that we wanted to integrate, we would find a way to integrate that. For more so, usually the perception of jobs is you're really not supposed to tell employers how old you are and all that stuff. So, and all of that. So we just keep it very simplified. And, obviously when they get transferred over to the advising side, the advisor's going to dig a little bit deeper into their graduation date and all of those things. But for the purposes of Salemaker, we're just more of a job. We're more about the job and giggets. So I know that there were, and it really just depends on script changes, because there are some versions of the scripts that, have questions and things of that nature, but there's nothing that is into play right now. So, any other questions so far?
And so SR5 is not adding those as a functionality?
Not at this time.
Okay.
But who's to say, the software is constantly updating and constantly integrating different verbiage, different scripting. Just the change from SR3 to SR4 to SR5, it's a scripting change.
Absolutely.
It's not the interface. It's not a change of the interface. It's just a change of, now instead of, we used to ask, like for example, like this stuff.
Have you ever used Giggits to find a job in the past?
Like this whole, hi, thank you for calling.
Thanks for calling Giggits on a recorded line.
It used to be, hi, thank you for calling Giggits, and then it would be another block. The call was being monitored for quality and, and all of that. And so we just made that block more efficient. Hey, this is Will on a recorded line. I've eliminated a whole block now.
Absolutely.
And so it just really depends on.
And so is SR5 more in tune with the Elite scripting that just came out, or is it more in tune with the Oscar style presentation?
It's more the Oscar style presentation, but it's also a bit of the Elite. Obviously, they all do the same things. It's just more for scripting purposes. Obviously, you don't have the leeway in the conversation like you have, and this is just meant to, it's really meant to be able to have two conversations at one time.
It's mostly a funnel to get people in.
It's very concise. It's more, it's cutting out all the extra. It's like if you were to think of it as a steak. You have like steak that has all that marbling and fat, and then you have steak that's just completely lean and it's just meat. So the Salemaker would be just the meat. Yeah.
The specialists are the marble.
Yeah, they're more marbled. So.
There's a steak and I got you.
People tell me I'm something with my analogies.
You're very good with your analogies.
And then you've got the drop-down menus. Now, drop-down menus they're found in a few different places. I think there are just a couple of different places in the script. One is when they want to know what kind of job they applied for. And so we do have the ability to say that I see you're applying for, and they're general, because it's usually, it will fit into a general category.
An administrative position you applied for online? Do you recall that?
And then another one would be down here when you're getting into your education, and it's key bound also, so it's meant to use the arrow to select. Okay. And then you've got radio buttons, basically points of compliance. That you're selecting, making sure is your email address correct. This is your time frame that you want to start school. There's another one, employment, and some of them actually feed off of each other. Like, have you used Giggets before? You have different scripting for yes and no, and the same thing applies to have you ever, are you employed? You have a different verbiage for yes and no. So it's really important that you're paying attention and you're selecting the correct corresponding radio button. That way you're able to have the accurate conversation that you need to have. And so that's kind of where it goes, and it gets a little intense because you're on 2 calls and you got to make sure you're listening here, because if they said that they are employed and then you ask them how long have they been unemployed, they're like, no, I told you I was employed. So you just want to make sure that you're hitting what you need to hit. And then I already showed you the male-female toggle.
So it generates, I'm sorry,
No, go ahead.
So it generates the response after an answer?
Yeah.
Like, just like how ours does?
No, I can. Have you ever used Giggets?
Have you used Giggets to find a job in the past?
No, I've never used Giggets.
Well, welcome to Giggets. We appreciate you using us to assist
Okay,
in
yeah,
your
so
job.
it gives you a response.
But yeah, if I say, yeah, I used Giggets yesterday.
So, can you commit?
So then, wait, where'd it go? Wow, how did I get all the way down there?
No reason lost.
Yeah, okay, oh, because I already and that's another thing. That's the thing about spacebar. With spacebar, if you hit your spacebar and you've gone to your next and you scroll up, you hit spacebar again, it's not going to take you to the next block. It's going to take you down to the next block that you haven't spacebarred to. So that's why up and down arrow will always serve you right, because the script won't get away from you. It's easy to hit spacebar and be like, oh, stop, and then go back and play, and then hit spacebar again, skip the block that you stop, and you're like, and you're playing catch up. So it's good. That's why we have these functions here. But yeah, I said that
Okay, well, we appreciate having you back. And as you may recall, as a job specialist here,
so
my
it's
job
just
to be
different
fast-paced
verbiage.
and fun.
And it's the same thing with unemployed. So if it's how are you currently employed right now? If you say yes, it'll say, well, with the job market the way it is, why are you seeking employment elsewhere? And if you say no, it'll say, well, how long have you been unemployed? So, it's just making sure that
Cause and effect.
yeah, cause and effect, and making sure that. And then if you don't hit anything at all, I actually learned this the hard way. Like if you skip any of these radio buttons, it won't let you transfer the call until it'll say stop, you didn't fill in all your information. But if you don't select the most important ones, education, if you don't select education, it won't give you the proper opt-in verbiage for education as a segue. It just skips over it because you never selected anything. So if you don't have that block there, you're like, oh my God, I didn't do it. I gotta go do it real quick. And then the same thing with the Giggets, the Giggets